stating what a pleasure it is to welcome you all to this media breakfast briefing on plea bargaining and diversion policy and guidelines. To most sincerely thank you for honoring us with your presence this morning, especially on such short notice. The concept of plea bargaining is not new and has been adopted in various jurisdictions around the world. Simply put, plea bargaining is a negotiation between an accused and or his advocate and the prosecutor, as you've been told here today, in which the accused agrees to plead guilty to some crimes in return for a reduction of the severity of the charges, removal of some of the charges, or some other benefit to the accused. To some, this may seem like an easy way out for the accused. However, we must understand it is important to remember that not every criminal case needs to be prosecuted to finality through a trial process, especially if it can be resolved by alternative means. To us, the most important thing is ensuring that justice is achieved in each case, and that as far as is possible, all parties are dealt with fairly and equitably. The implementation of plea bargaining in Kenya has had challenges largely due to lack of uniformity in the application of the plea bargaining provisions. To this end, the development of the plea bargaining guidelines were to aid in the implementation of the provision of plea bargaining as provided for in Section 137A of the Criminal Procedure Code, A2O, Cap 75, and the plea bargaining rules gazetted on 14th February 2018 by Madam SPP. These guidelines are meant to guide public prosecutors, other gazetted prosecutors, relevant state agencies, and members of the public on the decision-making process of plea bargaining agreements. When it comes to diversion, the policy and guidelines developed are meant to give an offender a second chance in life by assisting them to integrate into the community. The diversion policy that the ODPP has developed is the first of its kind in Kenya, making it an important policy for the criminal justice system in Kenya. As such, today, we launch the first round of our regional sensitizations, as it is our aim to engage with our stakeholders and partners in the criminal justice sector and raise awareness to the plea bargaining guidelines and the diversion policy for the sole reason of serving justice to all Kenyans. The development and implementation of the plea bargaining and diversion policy are important to the ODPP, as we as an office are cognizant of the fact that case backlog and lengthy trial processes remain a big challenge to efficient and effective, expeditious conclusion of cases. Furthermore, our prisons are overcrowded and stretched to capacity. These, among other factors, cripple our quest to diligently serve the nation. The plea bargaining guidelines and the diversion policy are documents developed to mitigate this situation and improve the public's participation in our justice system. The adoption of plea bargaining and diversion would reduce case backlog and shorten the trial processes, hence saving time and resources for all actors involved. The adoption would further aid in decongesting prisons, promoting harmonious integration of offenders back into society, and enhancing faith in the criminal justice sector. We take note of the fact that the criminal justice system in Kenya has long focused on retributive justice with the emphasis of punishing the offender for the crime. However, we believe that in today's age, there is a need for a shift from this approach, and instead a focus on restitution, restoration, and reintegration. This is diverting from the norm of taking all cases to court. Both the plea bargaining guidelines and the diversion policy have been subjected to extensive internal and external stakeholder participation to ensure their operative and efficacy application. To ensure that the plea bargaining guidelines and diversion policy are adopted and streamlined across the country, the ODPP has conducted regional trainings for prosecution counsel to fully equip them on the expectations of the two policy documents. Stakeholder sensitization is at the heart of adoption of any public policy. It is incumbent on the ODPP to conduct sensitization forums in every country in Kenya with a view of ensuring that plea bargaining and the diversion policy are understood, and hence this meeting today here. The criminal justice actors, the media, and the general public constitute our invaluable ambassadors in this sensitization process. The first regional sensitization is currently underway in Mombasa as we speak. The participants include law enforcement agency, NCAJ members, and non-profit organizations involved in the rehabilitation of offenders. As we continue to celebrate our joint achievements in spinning the wheels of justice, I would like to urge the media to work with us in sensitizing and educating the public on these policies and how it would be beneficial to individuals, the criminal justice sector, and to the country at large. I also take this opportunity to thank the ODPP's Law Reform Committee, led by Mr. Ondari, who took us through the diversion guidelines, the ODPP staff who worked with him, and all who directly or indirectly contributed to the development of the plea bargaining guidelines and diversion policy. Finally, I would like to give my sincere gratitude to our key partners, the European Union, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, especially Charity Kagwe, and the United States Department of Justice for their immeasurable support in the development and now the rolling out of this policy document. What I want to assure the public is that this process will be a process of integrity, and that we will, in every step that we make, publicize the reasons as to why, especially in public interest cases, we have entered into plea bargaining agreements or conducted a diversion. It is not for purposes of entering into, as Mr. Ondari clearly spelled out here, into deals, especially in corruption cases. And I want to emphasize on that. We have had several offers because of the misconception and misunderstanding of what plea bargaining entails, either through the EACC or the DCI's office or my office, for a lot of people who we have charged in corruption cases to enter in plea bargaining agreements. They misunderstand the concept itself, that one, you're required to plead guilty. And upon that, then we will look at the other issues that are there to either reduce the sentences or look for other negotiating points that will make whatever sentence that would have been meted out lighter. But we've emphasized that when it comes to restitution and compensation, that amount stolen, that will not be negotiable at all. As much as we're going to look into the sentencing issues, we are going to emphasize that those, especially those, and I'm emphasizing on issues of corruption, because a lot of people think that they can jump on this bandwagon and get out of the processes in terms of prosecuting graft. And I know there's a lot of apprehension out there that plea bargaining will be utilized to get some of these people off the hook. I want to assure the public that this will not be the case. So we will put in place systems that will ensure there is integrity in the process. And we are starting with our own prosecutors. And I urge that investigators and other stakeholders also ensure that the process is of integrity, including the judiciary that will play a key role in finalizing the plea bargaining process. Diversion for us, and especially me, I hope will be able to be utilized by the common mwananchi who cannot afford to get themselves good defense counsels, for example, or be able to pay the fines that are expected. That we will emphasize that on petty crimes especially, that the poor mwananchi, the mwananchi who's out there, is given priority to opt to enter into diversion. So we will be investing in ensuring that it benefits the common mwananchi and not the big fishes out there. I think Honorable Andai enumerated the case of Family Bank, which was a test case for us, especially when I came into office. And we entered into a plea bargaining agreement, considering that the bank is a legal person, and you might not necessarily have the whole bank in serving terms somewhere. We decided to enter into a plea bargaining agreement with them, and they paid a hefty amount, which will be used for restitution, especially because they were involved in one of the NYS cases. So we are looking into ways and means of giving that money back to NYS into a project that will benefit the youth. And on that line, the Office of the DPP is setting up a prosecution fund, which we're in the process of putting it up, to have these monies sit in the prosecution fund and for them to be utilized effectively where they're supposed to be utilized. So with those few words, I want to thank you all, and hopefully we shall engage more. We have tried to come up with illustrations that will be user-friendly for both the media and Mwananchi, and I think we have a number of pamphlets here that will be distributed, but we will also have public outreach programs to go out there and sensitize the Mwananchi on the ground. So with those few words, I want to thank you all for coming and turning up here, and God bless. Thank you.